All right, so guys, we're going to move on here today, and we're going to take a look at just starting to work with some buttons and some outlets, and just get working with our code and also our storyboards. We're going to kind of take the next step here as we learn how to program and build these apps. So we're going to go ahead. Let's get into Xcode. We're going to create a new project today. All right, let's go single view. Go ahead and call this one Green Machine. All right, keep everything else as is. Again, everything should be what set to what you put in here the last time. All right, just make sure we're at Swift and Universal. Click Next and create it. Again, I'm just going to actually, real quick, I'm going to put this on my desktop. Create, and here we go. All right, so again, so let's go to our storyboard. So again, we talked about this in one of our other screencasts, the idea about on every project, we're going to have this view controller file that's going to be associated with some code. Okay, so this view controller.swift file is connected to this view controller here. Okay, so we always want to keep that in mind. So every time we have a storyboard item, a view controller, we're going to have a view controller.swift file to go with it. And remember, as we look at it, we can delete out that code. We don't need that. Remember that we've got our class line. So this class is called view controller. Right, and its subclass is from UI view controller, so it gets all its properties and methods from that. This is the beginning of the class, and then this is the end. So we never want to delete those curly braces. Then we've got our view did load function. Again, anything that, as it says here, basically anything that when the view loads, what we put in here is going to happen. Okay, so we just always want to make sure we have good language and syntax, and we're not deleting. We just want to stay nice and simple here. Okay, so now with this, we're going to connect some code that we do over here to some items we put on the storyboard to make our screen change. So we're going to do our first programming of an app here today. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's go back to the full view of our storyboard. So to do that, just come up top here and click on the lines. This is the standard editor. All right, let's go ahead and let's search for a label here. So let's type in label in the object library. Okay, let's go ahead and align that kind of top left corner right about there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put the label there, and then we're going to change the text of that. So again, I think we kind of remember how to do this. I'm going to make my label a little larger. All right, and then let's go ahead and change the text of that. Okay, so we're going to call this app Green Machine. All right, so I'm going to base this off of the Incredible Hulk here. So if you have any knowledge of that, when the Incredible Hulk gets angry, he turns green. Okay, big and green. So we're going to use that and change this to green. So we'll go ahead and say getting angry. All right, so that means we're getting angry here and we're about to turn green. Okay, so let's do that. So if you're not an Incredible Hulk fan, no worries. That's just a little backstory for you there. All right, so now that we've got our label with our getting angry, okay, let's see here. Yeah, so let's just make sure we can see all the text in here, and that what we have right now is perfect. Okay, so now we're going to do our first connection between storyboard and code. Okay, so let's go back to our assistant editor. Okay, and then what I want you to do is make some space up top here, and then make a comment and call it outlets. Okay, so outlets are what we call connections between the storyboard and our code. And we always want to put outlets above view did load. Always want to do that. So to connect this here, what we're going to do here is we're going to hold down the control button on your keyboard and then drag right below here. So control drag and let go, and you're going to get a pop-up menu. Okay, and it's going to say outlet, and we want this to be an outlet. It's going to say it's coming from the view controller, and we need to give this a name. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll call this Green Machine label. You always want to be pretty specific with your labels, especially if you have a lot of code. It's just easier for someone else to come in, sit down and look at your code and know what's happening. And we always want to use that camel casing technique. Everything else we'll leave it as a label and leave the storage as weak and click on connect. All right, so we have our first outlet established. So you can check that. So if you put your mouse over this button here, you'll see that it turns blue over on the storyboard saying, hey, you've got an active connection. All right, so pretty easy there. Okay, so we've made our first connection there, and we're good to go. Another thing I want to show you, let's go back to standard editor. All right, is when you click on your view controller and you click on this circle, all right, we have a thing called the connection inspector. So that is this circle with the arrow pointing to the right. Go ahead and click on that. You can see we've got our connections in here, so every time we start adding connections, they're going to show up here. Okay, so it's something that we'll use throughout class here, and it's a lot of times, many times errors might occur a lot of times because you have bad connections. Great place to check that out. Okay, so now that we have our first label put into place here, let's move on here and let's let's see here. Let's just work a little bit with that label. Okay, so let's go into our viewController.swift. Okay, so now that we've got this outlet, it's called Green Machine Label, we can access that outlet anywhere we want to in our code. Okay, so we can call it, we can use it, and then we can also access a lot of different properties there. Okay, so again, it's a UI label. So if I were to put my hold down the Alt button and click on UI label, it basically gives you all this information about labels, and we can read more into that, but it's all the documentation, just the different information about labels. And then if you can command click on label, all right, it brings you to this. Basically, this is documentation, just all the different things you can do with labels. Okay, so to get back, just click the arrow there. We're back to it. Okay, so now view did load. Let's go inside that function. So again, this is going to load up when the app loads. We did some work on view did load in our variable challenge. We've got a little bit of experience in there. All right, but basically anything between this curly brace and this one will happen when the view loads up. Okay, so let's start first by calling our outlet the Green Machine Label outlet. So to do that, I just start typing in Green Machine. There it is, UI label. I'm just going to hit enter. All right, I'm not going to try to type that out by hand. Use autocomplete as much as possible. Okay, so now what we're going to do here, all right, is we want to turn this text color to be green when it opens up. So to access the properties of the label, it's called dot syntax. All right, so what I do here, all right, is when I click on when I click on dot here, I open up basically the toolbox of all the different properties that I could use with the label. So you can see there are a ton in here. So don't worry, you're not going to have to know what each of these does, and you won't use all these, and because there's just so many different things in here. We want to change the text color of our label. So to do that, I'm going to start typing out text color. And you can see it starts narrowing my list down there, and here's the one I want to work with. So I'm going to change the text color of Green Machine Label, because right now it's black, but when it loads up, I want it to be green. So then I'm going to go UI color.green. All right, so basically what I've done here is I've accessed the UI color property from UI view controller, and then I'm accessing the green characteristic. Okay, so now I've got UI color.green. So now when we go back to the storyboard, remember it's black here. Let's go ahead and run this here and just take a look at what the difference is. So when I hit the run button, all right, so as this app loads up here, all right, so what should happen is getting angry should be green. All right, we'll see if this works or not. Alright, there's our simulator. I'm in the iPhone 6S right now. It's a little smaller, so it fits the screen a little better for you. Alright, so here we go. Moment of truth here. App's going to load here in a moment. And there we go. So we get that green getting angry color. Alright, so again, I did that. I could have changed the color here if I wanted to by going here, but programmatically, that's how you could change color of the text in a label. Okay, so you have your outlet up top. You call the outlet in view did load, you access the text color property, and set that equal to green. All right, so that's working with an IB outlet. All right, so let's talk about making an IB action. So we want a button on our view controller. We want to turn this thing to green because now that we're not getting angry, we are angry. Okay, so let's go down below here and type in button. All right, and let's go ahead and drag a button. We'll just put it right below here. All right, now what we'll do is we'll just make that a little larger. Okay, and we'll come over to our attributes inspector. Let's change the text of button to I'm angry. All right, so now we've really done it. So we've set that individual angry here. So let's go ahead. We'll leave that as blue for right now. So now we've got a button in place. Okay, so now we could run our app and we could press the button, but nothing's going to happen. So that's why we need to work with our code and make a connection, because we need this button to do something. So let's come back into our view controller. Let's put a comment down below here and call this one actions. So now we always want to put outlets up top. We always want to put our actions down below. And it's important to stay organized with your code just so it's just easy for you. It's going to be easier for others, myself, and it's just good practice to do that. All right, so let's make an action for this button. So we're going to click on the button. We're going to control drag over. Okay, we're going to let go. So we get that same menu, but a very important step here. We don't want this connection to be an outlet. We want it to be an action because we need this button to do something. Okay, so we'll go and give this the name of on button pressed, and then we'll go ahead and click connect, making sure again that this must be action. So click connect. So you can see up top we have IB outlet. Here we have IB action with the func keyword here. So instead of having var, we have func, just like we did in view did load. So this is the function that's going to do something. So when we press this button, what do we want to have happen? Okay, so basically what we're looking to do, okay, anything we want to have happen, we have to put it inside these curly braces. So you can see now we're getting a few different functions. So we got override view did load with 2 curly braces, and then we got on button press with 2 curly braces. So remember, everything needs 2 curly braces, and then you've got the class, which has the kind of the wrapper curly braces that contain everything. Okay, so now that we've got that done, okay, let's go back out to the storyboard for a second and take a quick look at buttons here. So with our button in our attributes inspector, we got some options. So we could change the text color. That's why we're going to change that to black. Okay, you could put an image on that, but more importantly, as you scroll down, okay, you could change the background color of your button if you'd like to change it to something. Just pick purple, why not? We can change that later, but so those are just some of the different basic options you could work with. Like right now, though, we're focused on the action, and what we want to have happen is when I press this button, I want the screen to go away, and then I want this text to disappear. Because we're no longer getting angry. We are angry. Okay. Actually, why don't we do this? We'll change this text from getting angry to we'll think of something good to put in there. So let's go back into our view controller. All right, so we are inside our IB action. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Okay, so we want to go ahead and we want to change the background color from the white that it is to green. So here's how we would do that. So we're going to go ahead and use something called view. All right, so we're going to use this UI view. So basically the view, next let me show you what I'm talking about here. So when I go back to the storyboard, open up my outline view, the view is this rectangle here, so that's the whole screen. Okay, so we're going to access the view, and we want to change the background color of that. So we're going to go view dot background color. So again, once you start using dot, it's going to open up all the tools and properties you can use with that. We're going to hit equal, and then we just want to use the UI color dot green. Okay, so in theory, if this works, we'll test in a moment. The background color is going to go from that white to a green. All right, when we press the button. We also want to change what the text inside the green machine label. Okay, so now again, here's the benefit of the outlet up top. We can call that green machine label once again. We did it here, but we can use it as many times as we want. We're going to use dot once again, and then we're going to type text. All right, so we're going to change the text of that. All right, so let's go ahead and say you're in trouble now. Okay, so once we hit the green, we're angry, so now we're in trouble because the Incredible Hulk is ready to go. He's going to wreck some stuff here. All right, so as you look at our code, so when we press the button, since all this stuff's inside of this function, the screen should turn green, and the label's text should change from I'm getting angry or getting angry to you're in trouble now. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out, and let's see if this works here. Okay, so here we are. So it says getting angry. It says, oh, I'm angry. I pressed the button. All right, and we've now got ourselves the green background. Okay, so now, though, we've got an issue. All right, it says green machine label dot text equals you're in trouble now. But as you notice, all right, our label is not showing up. So now, again, if you want to go ahead and stop the screencast right now and see if you can figure out the issue that I put in here, I'll let you figure it out, and then you can come back in, you can stop it, or if you just want to keep watching here. But why don't you see if you can figure it out on your own for a second here. Have a hint, give you a hint. It has to do something with the colors. All right, but if not, I'll go ahead and pause for a second for you to stop it, and then we'll move forward here. Okay, so how do we solve the problem? We cannot see you're in trouble now. So what's going on? So if you recall, when the view loads up, we're changing the text color to green. When we press the button, we're changing the background color to green. So basically, we have the issue of it's the same color, so we can't see it. So let's go ahead and change green machine label text color. All right, we'll go ahead and change that to UI color, and we'll just go black. All right, we'll see if this works here. All right, so let's give it a shot now. You can see it's loading up a little quicker now on my end, but again, just with the computers in here, it might take a minute or two to load up. Be patient. I promise it'll load here eventually. Okay, so let's press the button. I'm angry, and then there you go. You're in trouble. All right, so now still a small issue here. All right, again, the reason why you're seeing the 3 periods here, dot, 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 I did not make my label large enough to see the rest of the text. Okay, but you can see though the button is working. And once you press it once, pressing again does nothing because we didn't code that. We only coded the one press of the button for these three things to happen, and it did. Background is green. This label changed the text information, and it also changed the text color. All right, so to fix that label issue, you would just need to come back out to your storyboard, just click, and then you can just drag that label out, and that should do the trick there. All right, so a lot of information, all right, but again, very important when you're working with our apps that we understand outlets and connections. And then again, always a good way to check is when you click on this yellow circle on your view controller, go to the connections inspector. You always want to see the circles like this, the black circles there, because if not, that means you have a connection issue, and it's going to always cause a problem. All right, so we'll cover that more in later lessons here, but again, this is always, you always want to make sure you got black circles here, and that shows you that your connections are good and life is good and we can move on. So good job with this one here. If you got done, we got some time here today, why don't you go ahead and start the review problem and build your own IB outlet and action app. But remember though, it's all connecting the view controller to the storyboard. All right, so we'll finish with this last screenshot for you. All right, again, so everything that's happening here is connected to my storyboard. All right, so good job, guys. Questions, ask them if you got them, and we'll see you next time.